He told the alien artifact, "Wake up," as a joke. It did, and asked for his bloodline. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The sun beat down on the excavation site, illuminating dust particles that danced through the air. Dr. Ethan Cole wiped sweat from his brow, his excitement mounting as his team uncovered what appeared to be an ancient alien relic buried beneath the Saharan sands. The artifact had been discovered 3 weeks earlier during a routine geological survey. What had initially appeared to be an unusual rock formation quickly revealed itself as something far more extraordinary. A perfectly smooth, obsidian-like object approximately 2 meters in length, with peculiar symbols etched into its surface that matched no known human language or pattern. Ethan's colleague, Dr. Lauren Bennett, carefully brushed away the last remnants of sand from the object's surface. Her normally composed demeanor had given way to barely contained excitement. After all, this was the discovery of a lifetime, irrefutable evidence of extraterrestrial contact with Earth, potentially dating back thousands of years. Temperature readings are still fluctuating, Lauren announced, checking her instruments. Whatever this thing is made of, it's not from around here. Ethan nodded, his eyes never leaving the artifact. Under the harsh desert sun, the object seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating an almost perfect silhouette against the golden sand. The etched symbols occasionally pulsed with a faint bluish glow, though Ethan couldn't be entirely sure if it was a trick of the light or something more. The carbon dating from the surrounding soil suggests this thing has been here for at least 12,000 years, said Mason Reed, the team's geologist. That predates every major civilization we know of. Ethan approached the artifact, his heart pounding in his chest. Years of studying theoretical xenoarchaeology had not prepared him for an actual encounter with alien technology. He had dedicated his career to the controversial field despite the ridicule from mainstream archaeology, and now vindication was literally at his feet. "We need to get this to the research facility as soon as possible," Ethan said, pulling out his satellite phone. "I'll call for the transport team." As Ethan made the necessary arrangements, the rest of the team continued documenting every aspect of the artifact and its position. Lauren meticulously photographed the symbols, while Mason took soil samples from various distances around the object to establish a contamination gradient. For hours later, as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, the transport team arrived with specialized equipment to move the artifact. As they prepared the custom container, Ethan couldn't resist one final close examination. He knelt beside the object, marveling at its perfect symmetry and the way the symbols seemed to flow across its surface in some kind of logical pattern. On an impulse, he reached out and placed his palm flat against the smooth, cool surface. "Anything happening, boss?" called out Tyler Grant, one of the younger researchers on the team, a grin spreading across his face. "Maybe you should ask it to wake up." Several team members chuckled at the comment, the tension of the day finding release in the moment of levity. Ethan smiled and shook his head. "Right. Because ancient alien artifacts just wake up when you ask them to." He patted the surface of the object playfully. "Wake up," he said in a theatrical tone, drawing more laughter from the team. What happened next would change everything. The symbols on the artifact suddenly illuminated with a brilliant blue light, pulsing in a rhythmic pattern that sent the team scrambling backward. A low humming sound emanated from within, gradually increasing in pitch and volume until it seemed to resonate with the very air around them. "What did you do?" Lauren shouted over the noise, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Nothing. Ethan's response was cut short as the artifact began to transform. The smooth surface rippled like liquid, sections of the object shifting and realigning. The team watched in stunned silence as the formless mass reshaped itself into something resembling a sleek, metallic pod. A seam appeared along its length, and with a soft hiss, it split open. Mist spilled out from inside, dissipating quickly in the dry desert air. And then, from within the pod, something emerged, a slender, articulated appendage that looked like a cross between a mechanical arm and a tentacle, tipped with what appeared to be some kind of sensory apparatus. The appendage swiveled toward Ethan, hovering just inches from his face. He remained frozen, afraid that any sudden movement might trigger an adverse reaction. A voice, seemingly from nowhere and everywhere at once, spoke in a language no one recognized, a series of melodic tones and clicks that somehow conveyed a sense of inquiry. "It's trying to communicate," Lauren whispered, her scientific instincts overriding her fear. The appendage retracted slightly, then extended again, this time producing a small orb of light that hovered between it and Ethan. The orb pulsed with each sound the voice made, as if visualizing the auditory patterns. After several attempts, the voice suddenly shifted, the alien sounds gradually transforming into recognizable English, though heavily accented and with unusual intonation. Identity verification required. Bloodline confirmation protocol initiated. The words hung in the air as the team exchanged bewildered glances. "What does it mean by bloodline?" Mason asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could speculate, the mechanical appendage moved with startling speed, extending toward Ethan's hand. A needle-like protrusion emerged from its tip, pricking Ethan's finger before he could react. "Hey!" Ethan pulled his hand back, watching as a small drop of blood was drawn into the appendage. The artifact hummed more intensely, the orb of light changing color from blue to a deep purple as it processed the sample. After several tense moments, the voice spoke again. "Genetic match confirmed. Descendant of Guardian Primus identified. Emergency protocol activated." The appendage retracted into the pod, which began to transform once more, this time expanding and reshaping into what appeared to be a humanoid figure. The team watched in awe as the liquid metal solidified into a form that stood approximately 7 feet tall, with a sleek, androgynous appearance and no distinguishable facial features beyond 2 luminous points where eyes would be. "Greetings, descendant," the being said, its voice now clearer and more natural sounding. "I am Sentinel, custodian of the Nexus Key. I have awakened to warn you. They are returning." "Who's returning?" Ethan asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his shock. "The Harvesters," Sentinel replied. "They who seeded this world with life, only to reap what grows. They who have done this countless times across countless worlds." Lauren stepped forward. "You're saying Earth was planted? By some alien species?" "Not planted," Sentinel corrected. "Seeded with potential. Your species was not designed. You evolved naturally. But your world was chosen, long ago, for its specific properties. The Harvesters cultivate worlds across the galaxy, returning when sentient life reaches a certain technological threshold." "And what happens when they return?" Ethan asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. "They harvest," Sentinel stated simply. "They take what they need, genetic material, cultural data, technological innovations, and then they reset the world, allowing new forms to evolve for the next cycle." A horrified silence fell over the group as they absorbed this information. "How long do we have?" Mason finally asked. "Their scouts have already entered your solar system," Sentinel replied. "The Harvester fleet will arrive within one of your Earth years." "And why are you telling us this?" Ethan asked. "Why wake up now, after 12,000 years? I was left here by those who opposed the Harvesters, the Preservers. They seeded Guardian bloodlines among your earliest ancestors, humans with specific genetic markers that would allow them to activate artifacts like myself when the time came. You, Ethan Cole, carry that marker. It was not chance that brought you to find me. It was written in your DNA." Ethan struggled to process this revelation. "So what are we supposed to do? How can we possibly defend ourselves against a species capable of interstellar travel and planetary-scale genocide?" "That is why I am here," Sentinel said. "To provide you with the knowledge and technology of the Preservers. With it, humanity may have a chance to resist the harvest." Tyler stepped forward, his earlier joking manner completely gone. "Wait," You're going to give us advanced alien tech? Just like that. Not just like that, Sentinel corrected. The knowledge must be earned, and it can only be accessed by those of the Guardian bloodline. Ethan Cole must undergo the trials of ascension to unlock each level of knowledge. Trials. Ethan repeated, a sense of dread mingling with his scientific excitement. What kind of trials? Trials of mind, body, and spirit, Sentinel explained. Designed to test your worthiness and prepare you for the burden of the knowledge you will receive. The first trial begins now. Before anyone could react, a beam of light shot from Sentinel's chest, enveloping Ethan completely. He felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was being pulled from his body. The world around him faded, replaced by a vast, star-filled void. Ethan. Lauren's voice sounded distant, muffled, as if coming from underwater. Within the void, images began to form, visions of Earth's history, but not as Ethan had learned it. He saw ancient civilizations rising and falling, guided by beings similar to Sentinel. He saw early humans being taught agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, knowledge gifted by the preservers to accelerate humanity's development. And he saw the harvesters, massive, crystalline entities that descended upon worlds, systematically extracting resources and life forms before triggering cataclysmic events that would reset the evolutionary clock. As suddenly as it had begun, the vision ended. Ethan found himself back in the desert, on his knees, gasping for breath. The team surrounded him, their faces etched with concern. Ethan, are you okay? Lauren was kneeling beside him, her hand on his shoulder. I'm fine, he managed, though his mind was reeling from what he had witnessed. I saw everything. Our history, the truth about our origins. First trial completed, Sentinel announced. Basic historical context assimilated. Proceeding to knowledge transfer, level 1. Another beam of light connected Sentinel to Ethan, but this time, instead of visions, Ethan felt information flooding directly into his mind. Complex mathematical equations, physical principles beyond current human understanding, blueprints for technologies centuries ahead of Earth's current capabilities. When it ended, Ethan staggered, his head pounding with the effort of containing so much new information. What just happened? Mason asked, helping Ethan to his feet. I think I just learned how to build a quantum communication device, Ethan said, his voice filled with wonder. And a gravity manipulation system. And I don't even know what to call it. It's like a shield, but it operates on principles we haven't even theorized yet. Correct, Sentinel confirmed. These are the foundational technologies needed to begin preparations for the Harvester's arrival. But this is merely the beginning. There are 12 levels of knowledge to unlock, each more advanced than the last. And each requires a trial? Ethan asked. Yes. The trials will become progressively more challenging. Some will test your intellect, others your physical endurance, and the most difficult will test your very humanity, your moral compass, your capacity for sacrifice, your ability to make impossible choices. Tyler let out a low whistle. No pressure, boss. Ethan turned to face his team. We need to get Sentinel to a secure location immediately, and we need to contact the proper authorities. This isn't just an archaeological discovery anymore. It's a matter of planetary security. Who do we even call for this? Lauren asked. The military? The UN? NASA? All of them. Ethan replied grimly. Every government, every scientific institution. We don't have time for secrecy or national rivalries. Not anymore. As the team hurriedly packed up their equipment, preparing for an emergency evacuation of the site, Ethan approached Sentinel. There's something I don't understand, he said quietly. If the preservers knew the harvesters were coming, why leave just one Sentinel? Why not give us all of the knowledge at once, instead of these trials? The preservers adhere to strict non-interference protocols, Sentinel explained. They provide the means for species to save themselves, but they will not directly intervene. The trials ensure that the knowledge is earned and that the recipient is worthy of wielding it. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. And what if I fail these trials? Then another of the Guardian bloodline must be found to continue where you left off. There are others with the marker, though none as strong as yours. You are the primary inheritor of the Guardian legacy. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. And if all of us fail? Sentinel's luminous eyes seemed to dim slightly. Then humanity will join the countless other species who have fallen to the harvest. Your achievements will be preserved in the harvester's genetic libraries, your cultural contributions cataloged, and your world reset to begin the cycle anew. That's not going to happen, Ethan said with sudden determination. I don't care how many trials I have to face. I'll unlock every level of knowledge you have, and we'll find a way to stop them. Your conviction is admirable, Sentinel observed. It will be tested severely in the days to come. As the transport team finished securing their equipment, Ethan made a decision. We're taking Sentinel to the Global Scientific Coalition headquarters in Geneva. It's the most secure research facility on the planet, and it already has international oversight. That's a 14-hour flight, not counting the time to get to the airport, Mason pointed out. Then we'd better get moving, Ethan replied. We don't have a moment to waste. As they prepared to leave the excavation site, Ethan couldn't help but look up at the sky, now darkening with the approach of night. Somewhere up there, the scouts of an advanced alien civilization were already observing Earth, reporting back to a fleet that would arrive with the intention of harvesting everything humanity had built and achieved. 1 year. They had 1 year to prepare for an invasion by a species so advanced that they treated entire planets as crops to be harvested. It seemed impossible, yet Ethan felt a strange sense of clarity and purpose. His entire life, his decision to pursue xenoarchaeology despite the ridicule, his intuitive understanding of theoretical alien languages, his inexplicable drive to search in this particular region of the Sahara had been leading to this moment. He wasn't just Ethan Cole anymore. He was the inheritor of an ancient legacy, a guardian chosen before birth to stand between humanity and extinction. As he watched Sentinel being carefully loaded into the transport vehicle, Ethan made a silent vow. He would pass every trial, unlock every level of knowledge, and find a way to save his species. The alternative was unthinkable. What he didn't know was that the harvesters weren't the only threat humanity would face in the coming year. Something far more insidious had already infiltrated Earth, something that had been waiting for Sentinel to awaken, something that had its own plans for the Guardian bloodline. The journey from the remote Saharan excavation site to the nearest airstrip was tense and silent. The team had sworn themselves to secrecy until they could reach Geneva, but the implications of their discovery weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Sentinel had powered down into a dormant state for transport, once again resembling the obsidian artifact they had initially discovered, though now the symbols on its surface glowed with a constant blue light. As their convoy of vehicles bounced over the rough desert terrain, Ethan tried to organize the flood of information Sentinel had transferred to his mind. It was like trying to review an entire university course in quantum physics while simultaneously learning a new language and memorizing architectural blueprints. The knowledge was there, but accessing it was proving difficult. "How's your head?" Lauren asked from the seat beside him, her voice low so the driver couldn't hear. "Like it's going to explode," Ethan admitted. "I can feel the information there, but it's slippery. When I try to focus on one concept, it slides away and something else takes its place." "Maybe that's by design," Lauren suggested. "Sentinel said there were 12 levels of knowledge. Perhaps you're not meant to fully grasp level 1 until you've completed the second trial." Ethan nodded slowly. "That makes sense. A safeguard to prevent the knowledge from being abused or implemented incorrectly." Lauren was silent for a moment, then asked the question that had been on everyone's mind. "Do you think we should tell them about the harvesters? When we get to Geneva?" "We have to," Ethan replied. "But we need to be careful about how we present it. If we cause a global panic, we might doom ourselves before the harvesters even arrive." 1 year isn't much time to prepare for an alien invasion, Lauren said, staring out at the desert night. "It's all we've got," Ethan replied grimly. 3 days later, after a series of secure flights and confidential briefings, Ethan found himself standing before the Global Scientific Coalition's Emergency Response Committee in Geneva. The coalition, formed 10 years earlier to address existential threats to humanity, consisted of leading scientists, military strategists, and policymakers from every major nation. The artifact, Sentinel, had been placed in a specially prepared containment chamber, monitored by dozens of sensors and surrounded by a reinforced transparent barrier. Ethan had insisted that he needed to be present when Sentinel was reactivated, a condition the committee had reluctantly agreed to after he'd explained about the Guardian bloodline. Dr. Cole, began Dr. Natalie Quinn, the committee chairperson, before we proceed with the demonstration, I want to be absolutely clear about the implications of what you're claiming. You believe this artifact is an alien sentinel left on Earth thousands of years ago to warn us about an imminent invasion by a species that harvests civilizations. That's correct, Ethan confirmed, aware of how it sounded. I know it seems incredible, but once Sentinel is reactivated, you'll see the evidence for yourselves. Dr. Quinn exchanged glances with her colleagues. And you further claim that only you, or others with this Guardian bloodline, can access the knowledge contained within the Sentinel? Yes. The knowledge is transferred directly to the mind of the Guardian through a process I can't yet explain with our current scientific understanding. General Cameron Lowe, the military representative on the committee, leaned forward. And this knowledge includes advanced weapons technology? Technology that could help us defend against these harvesters? It includes various technologies, some of which could have military applications, Ethan said carefully. But Sentinel made it clear that the knowledge must be earned through a series of trials, and it's released in stages. I've only received the first level so far. Convenient, muttered Dr. Isaac Vaughn, a physicist known for his skepticism. So we just have to trust that you're receiving this alien wisdom that only you can access. I understand your skepticism, Ethan replied. That's why I've prepared technical schematics based on the knowledge I've already received. He gestured to an assistant who distributed digital tablets to the committee members. These are designs for a quantum communication system that operates on principles beyond our current understanding of physics, but which I believe your team can verify as theoretically sound. The committee members studied the schematics, their expressions shifting from doubt to guarded interest as they scrolled through the detailed technical drawings. These are remarkable, Dr. Vaughn admitted reluctantly. If they're legitimate, they represent a quantum leap in communications technology. But this could simply be an elaborate hoax. Perhaps you're a scientific prodigy who's been developing these theories in secret. There's an easy way to settle this, Ethan said, gesturing toward the containment chamber. Let me reactivate Sentinel. You can all witness the transformation and communication firsthand. After a brief discussion among the committee members, Dr. Quinn nodded her approval. Proceed, Dr. Cole, but be aware that at the first sign of any threat, security will intervene. Ethan approached the containment chamber, aware of the dozens of eyes watching his every move. Lauren and Mason stood nearby, having been permitted to attend as primary witnesses to the original activation. As Ethan placed his hand on the obsidian surface of the artifact, he felt a subtle vibration, as if Sentinel was responding to his proximity. Taking a deep breath, he spoke the words that had changed everything. Wake up. Just as before, the symbols illuminated with blue light, and the humming sound filled the chamber. The committee members watched in stunned silence as the artifact transformed, reshaping itself into the humanoid figure they had come to know as Sentinel. Guardian, Sentinel acknowledged, its luminous eyes focusing on Ethan. You have brought me to those who lead your kind. Yes, Ethan confirmed. These are representatives of Earth's scientific and defense communities. They need to hear what you told us about the harvesters. Sentinel turned its attention to the assembled committee. Greetings, leaders of Earth. I am Sentinel, emissary of the preservers and keeper of knowledge entrusted to the Guardian bloodline. I have awakened because your world faces imminent danger. the entities known as the Harvesters approach. For the next hour, Sentinel repeated the information it had shared at the excavation site, elaborating on the nature of the Harvesters and their cyclical harvesting of worlds. The committee listened with increasing alarm as Sentinel described previous civilizations that had fallen to the harvest, some far more advanced than Earth. "If what you're saying is true," Dr. Quinn said when Sentinel had finished, "why should we believe we have any chance against these harvesters? It sounds like they've been doing this for millions of years across countless worlds." "Because you have what those civilizations did not," Sentinel replied. "You have a guardian with a bloodline connection to the preservers, and you have me, a repository of knowledge specifically designed to counter harvester technology. And this knowledge can only be accessed through these trials." General Lowe asked skeptically. "Correct. The trials ensure that the guardian is worthy of the knowledge and capable of implementing it correctly. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. I've already completed the first trial," Ethan added. "The schematics I've provided come from the first level of knowledge. Imagine what we could learn from the remaining 11 levels." The committee members exchanged troubled glances. "Dr. Cole, we'll need time to verify these schematics and discuss our next steps," Dr. Quinn said finally. "Sentinel will remain in secure containment, and you will remain available for further questioning. Is that acceptable?" Before Ethan could respond, Sentinel spoke. "Time is a luxury you do not have. The second trial must begin within 3 of your days, or the knowledge sequence will reset. The Harvester Scouts are already within your solar system. Their main fleet will arrive in less than 1 Earth year." 3 days? Ethan repeated, surprised. "You didn't mention that before." "The urgency of your situation has increased," Sentinel replied. "The Harvester Scouts have accelerated their assessment of Earth. They have detected unusual energy signatures, including my awakening." A tense silence fell over the room. "What does the second trial entail?" Ethan asked. "The second trial is the trial of insight," Sentinel explained. "It will test your ability to perceive truth beyond deception, to see patterns where others see only chaos. It cannot be completed here. We must travel to a specific location, a nexus point where the trial can be properly administered." "And where is this nexus point?" Dr. Quinn asked. "What your people now call Angkor Wat, in Cambodia. It was built upon an ancient preserver site." General Lowe shook his head. "Out of the question. We're not moving this artifact anywhere until we've thoroughly studied it and verified its claims." "With respect, General," Ethan interjected, "if Sentinel is telling the truth, and everything I've seen suggests it is, then we don't have time for standard protocols. If I don't complete the second trial within 3 days, we lose access to knowledge that could save our planet." "Dr. Cole is correct," Sentinel confirmed. "The trial sequences were designed with specific temporal parameters. Failure to adhere to them results in a security lockdown." The debate continued for hours, with the committee divided between those who wanted to proceed cautiously with further testing and those who recognized the urgency of the situation. Throughout it all, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, not just by the committee and security personnel, but by something else, something hidden. As the committee called for a recess to deliberate in private, Ethan approached Sentinel. "Is there something you're not telling us?" he asked quietly. "About the harvesters or the trials?" Sentinel's luminous eyes dimmed slightly. "There is much I cannot reveal until you have proven ready to receive it. The trials are not merely tests, Guardian. They are preparations. Each one will change you, adapt you, make you more capable of bearing the knowledge that follows." "Change me how?" Ethan pressed. "The human mind and body were not designed to interface with preserver technology or to comprehend the full scope of the knowledge I contain. The trials gradually alter your neural pathways, enhance your cognitive functions, and strengthen your genetic connection to the Guardian bloodline." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "You're modifying me? Without my consent?" "The process began the moment you activated me," Sentinel stated. "It is part of the Guardian protocol. The changes are beneficial and necessary if you are to lead your people against the harvesters." Before Ethan could respond, Dr. Quinn returned with the committee's decision. Dr. Cole, after careful consideration, we've decided to authorize an expedition to Angkor Wat. You will be accompanied by a security team and scientific observers. Sentinel will be transported under strict containment protocols. You have 3 days to complete this trial, after which Sentinel will be returned here for further study. Ethan nodded, relieved but troubled by what Sentinel had revealed about the changes occurring within him. As the committee outlined the logistics of the expedition, he found himself wondering just how much of himself would remain by the time he completed all 12 trials, and whether the price of saving humanity might be his own humanity. What he couldn't know was that the changes Sentinel was making to his mind were just the beginning. The true purpose of the Guardian bloodline was far more complex and far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. 36 hours later, Ethan stood at the heart of Angkor Wat, the ancient temple complex now cleared of tourists under the pretense of an archaeological emergency. The massive stone structures took on new meaning now that Ethan knew their true purpose. The temples were built to mark the nexus point, Sentinel explained. The human builders were guided by those with the Guardian bloodline who came before you. Lauren examined the stone carvings with newfound wonder. So these aren't just decorative? They have actual meaning related to the preservers. Yes, Sentinel confirmed. The patterns contain encoded information, star maps, mathematical principles, warnings about the harvesters. Your ancestors could not fully understand what they were carving, but they faithfully reproduced what the Guardians showed them. General Lowe looked skeptical. If that's true, why hasn't anyone decoded these messages before? Because the full patterns can only be perceived by those with the Guardian bloodline, and only after the first trial has been completed, Sentinel replied. Ethan approached one of the wall carvings. As he studied it, he began to notice subtle patterns that seemed to shift and change. Mathematical equations, star coordinates, molecular structures, all hidden within the ancient artwork. I can see it, he murmured. It's like the carving is transforming before my eyes. That is the Guardian sight beginning to manifest, Sentinel said. The first trial enhanced your perceptual abilities. The second trial will refine them further. Sentinel led them to a specific spot at the base of the central tower, where an unremarkable stone panel bore a simple decorative pattern. The alien placed its hand against the stone, and the pattern began to glow with the same blue light as the symbols on Sentinel's body. The Nexus chamber has remained sealed for 12,000 years, Sentinel announced. Only a Guardian can open it. Ethan stepped forward, placing his hand where Sentinel indicated. Immediately, he felt a sharp pain as something pierced his palm. His blood was drawn into the stone, tracing the pattern with crimson lines that quickly turned glowing blue. The stone panel slid aside, revealing a dark passage descending beneath the temple. The Nexus chamber awaits, Sentinel said. The Guardian must enter alone. That wasn't the agreement, General Lowe objected. The trial cannot be observed by others, Sentinel stated firmly. It is tailored specifically to the Guardian's mind. Ethan followed Sentinel into the passage, which sealed behind them. They emerged into a vast chamber with walls covered in glowing symbols. At the center stood a crystalline structure, a perfect dodecahedron hovering above the floor. The Nexus crystal, Sentinel explained. A fragment of the original preserver archive. The trial will be administered through it. Beams of light shot from the crystal, converging on Ethan. He felt himself being pulled into a series of scenarios so realistic he couldn't distinguish them from reality. Each tested his ability to perceive truth beneath deception, to recognize patterns in chaos, and to make difficult decisions based on incomplete information. When the trial ended, Ethan's mind had been enhanced further. The trial of insight is complete, Sentinel announced. The second level of knowledge will now be transferred. Ethan felt information flooding his mind, but this time, he could process it more easily. I understand the quantum communication system now, not just the blueprints, but the underlying principles. They returned to the surface to find the team waiting anxiously. It's been 3 hours, Lawrence said. 3 hours. Ethan looked confused. It felt like minutes. Time flows differently within the Nexus, Sentinel explained. Over the next 2 months, Ethan worked with scientists worldwide to construct the quantum communication system. As the system neared completion, he prepared for the third trial, the trial of resilience. This physical trial subjected him to extreme conditions that pushed his body to its limits, enhancing his physical capabilities. With each subsequent trial, Ethan changed, his mind expanding, his body adapting, his connection to his own humanity growing more tenuous. The knowledge he gained was implemented immediately. The quantum communication network, the planetary defense shield, the gravity disruptors that could potentially disable Harvester ships. 9 months after discovering Sentinel, the first Harvester scout ship was detected at the edge of the solar system. The quantum communication network intercepted its transmissions, which Ethan could now partially decode. They're conducting final assessments, he reported to the Global Defense Council. They're particularly interested in our genetic diversity and information networks. How many ships in the main fleet? Asked General Lowe. Thousands, Ethan replied grimly. Each one is approximately the size of Manhattan. Their harvesting technology operates on a planetary scale. And our defenses? Dr. Quinn asked. Will they be sufficient? The shield will buy us time. The gravity disruptors might disable some ships. But to truly defeat the Harvesters, I need to complete the remaining trials. You've already completed 8, Lauren pointed out. How many more can you take? You're changing, Ethan. Sometimes I hardly recognize you. It was true. Ethan's eyes now had a faint luminescence similar to Sentinel's, and his emotional responses had become increasingly muted, his decision-making more coldly logical. For more trials, Ethan replied. And then I'll have access to the preserver weapon that can end the Harvester threat. Lauren pulled him aside later. I'm worried about you. What if, by the time you complete all 12 trials, the Ethan I know is gone? Something of the old Ethan surfaced momentarily. I've been asking myself the same question. Each trial takes something from me, memories, emotions, connections. But what choice do I have? If I stop now, everything will be lost. Lauren placed her hand against his cheek. Just promise me you'll try to hold on to something of yourself. Find an anchor, a memory, a feeling, and don't let it go. Ethan covered her hand with his own. I'll try. Before facing the 9th trial, Ethan confronted Sentinel about what he was becoming. The Guardian bloodline was created as a bridge, Sentinel explained. The trials are transforming you into a hybrid consciousness that can interface with the cosmic network the preservers established. And when all 12 trials are complete, what will I be then? You will be the conduit through which the final defense is channeled. Your consciousness will merge with the preserver network, maintaining your individual identity, if you are strong enough. And if I'm not strong enough, then your consciousness will be absorbed completely. The 9th trial nearly destroyed him. For what felt like eons, Ethan existed as pure energy, interfacing directly with the preserver network. When he finally reformed, 3 days had passed. The Harvester fleet was now visible to conventional telescopes, approaching from beyond Mars. Before Ethan could begin the 10th trial, disaster struck. The Harvester scouts launched a preemptive strike targeting the GSC headquarters. In the chaos, Lauren discovered that committee member Dr. Vaughn was actually a Harvester infiltrator who had been on Earth for decades. Lauren confronted him in the damaged containment chamber, where he stood over Sentinel's temporarily disabled form. The Guardian cannot be allowed to complete the transformation, Vaughn said, his human disguise flickering to reveal glimpses of his true crystalline form. The weapon the preservers created, it rewrites reality on a quantum level. Your Ethan Cole will become a god with the power to unmake existence. Before Lauren could respond, Ethan appeared, his eyes now glowing bright blue. With a gesture, he froze Vaughn in place. He speaks partial truths, Ethan said, his voice resonating oddly. The preserver weapon does rewrite quantum reality, but its purpose is transformation, not destruction. It doesn't unmake existence, It elevates it. Ethan, Lauren studied his face. Is it still you in there? Something flickered in his luminous eyes. A moment of human connection. Part of me. Enough to remember why this matters. Enough to keep my promise. He explained that the preserver weapon would release all the knowledge and life the harvesters had collected throughout cosmic history, allowing it to evolve beyond the constraints they had placed on it. And what happens to humanity in this process? Lauren asked. Humanity becomes part of something greater, not lost, but transformed, elevated, just as I am being transformed. The final 3 trials tested Ethan beyond anything he had experienced before. When he emerged from the final trial, Ethan Cole was no longer human in any conventional sense. His physical form remained, but it was merely a vessel for a consciousness that spanned dimensions. As the Harvester fleet entered Earth orbit, Earth's defenses activated. The planetary shield absorbed the initial attack, while the gravity disruptors disabled several smaller ships. But it was only a holding action. The Harvesters were too advanced to defeat through conventional means. In a secure facility beneath the Alps, Ethan prepared for the final confrontation. A shimmering portal of energy linked Earth to the preserver network across the galaxy. When the process begins, I will cease to exist as Ethan Cole, he explained. My consciousness will merge with the preserver network, becoming the conduit through which the transformation flows. Lauren approached him one last time. Is there anything left of you in there? Anything human? Ethan's expression softened. The anchor held. I remembered my promise. As the harvester ships began their final harvesting sequence, Ethan stepped into the portal. His physical form dissolved into pure energy, merging with the preserver network. Through his expanded consciousness, he could perceive the harvesters in their true form. Parasitic information structures that fed on the knowledge and life force of other species. He could also perceive the countless civilizations they had harvested, preserved but frozen in stasis, prevented from continuing their natural evolution. Billions of species, trillions of individual minds, all waiting to be freed. Channeling the full power of the preserver network, Ethan initiated the transformation. A ripple in quantum reality spread outward from Earth, engulfing the harvester fleet. The massive ships trembled as the energy wave passed through them, their structure briefly visible as complex lattices of light before they began to dissolve. But this was not destruction, it was liberation. As the harvester ships disintegrated, the knowledge and life force they had contained was released, flowing into the preserver network, where it could reintegrate into the cosmic evolutionary process. On Earth, Lauren and the others watched as the sky filled with cascading waves of multicolored light. The harvester ships melted into swirling vortices of energy that danced across the heavens. It's working, Sentinel confirmed, its own form beginning to shimmer. The Guardian has succeeded. The harvesters are being transformed, their collected knowledge released. The cycle is broken. What about Ethan? Lauren asked. Will he come back? Not as you knew him. The Guardian's consciousness has merged with the preserver network. He exists now as part of something greater, not gone, but transformed. A shimmering figure appeared before them, a being of pure energy that vaguely resembled Ethan's human form. The transformation is complete, the entity announced. The harvesters are no more. Their collected knowledge has been freed. It will seed the galaxy anew, creating a new cosmic renaissance. Ethan, Lauren reached toward the shimmering figure. Is it really you? The entity seemed to focus on her, its energy condensing slightly. Part of me. Enough to remember. Enough to say goodbye. Are you gone forever? She asked, tears streaming down her face. Not gone. Transformed. I exist now as part of the preserver network. Earth is safe. Humanity is safe. And now, you have the opportunity to join something greater, not through force, but through choice and cooperation. The shimmering figure began to fade. The Guardian bloodline served its purpose. I was the last needed for this role. Future generations will be free to choose their own path, without the shadow of the harvesters hanging over them. As the entity disappeared, Lauren felt a strange sense of peace mingling with her grief. Ethan was gone, yet not gone, transformed into something beyond human comprehension, yet still connected to humanity through the memories and emotions he had fought to preserve. In the days that followed, Earth began to change. The energy released by the transformation seeded the planet with new knowledge. Technologies advanced at an unprecedented rate, guided by a new wisdom. Human consciousness itself seemed to be evolving, becoming more connected to the cosmic order. 1 year later, Lauren stood watching the sunset. The sky was different now. New stars were visible, the legacy of civilizations freed from the harvester's stasis. "Do you think he's still out there somewhere?" Mason asked. "Still Ethan in some way?" Lauren smiled, touching the small pendant she wore, a fragment of the original artifact. It occasionally pulsed with a faint blue light when she thought about Ethan. "I think parts of him are everywhere now," she replied. "Sometimes, when I'm working on a difficult problem, I feel like he's guiding me toward the answer." As darkness fell and the stars emerged, Lauren whispered words she had spoken countless times over the past year, never knowing if they were heard, but feeling better for having said them. "Thank you, Ethan. We remember. And we're becoming something greater because of you." And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.